lenses, basic price movements, and volume totals.
Institutions monitor every bid, every ask, every aggressive order, tracking market intent in real time. While retail celebrates a green candle, institutions see the initiative selling that's about to reverse it. Order flow analysis gives retail traders institutional-grade market intelligence. Every day, traders make decisions based on red and green candles. But what if those candles are only showing you half the story?
Human traders need 200 to 500 milliseconds to process information and react to market changes.
Trading algorithms react in microseconds, literally 1,000 times faster than human thought.
By the time you see a price move on traditional charts, algorithms have already positioned themselves.
Order flow reveals institutional positioning before expiry events, seeing the game within the game.
Weekly expiries create massive position unwinding. Traditional analysis misses these derivative-specific forces.
Stop reacting to candles. Start reading institutional intent. Join the e-course now. 4,909 for lifetime access.
In Indian markets, derivatives volume is 10 times larger than cash. Most market activity is invisible to traditional analysis.
4% of traders lose, not because they aren't smart, but because they chase candles and ignore what institutions are actually doing.
Our 12-video e-course reveals how markets actually move through order flow and market profile. See the forces behind price, not just price itself. Every price move is just the surface. Dive into demand and supply if you want the truth.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. A quick sound check. Am I audible? So let's start this Monday 5 p.m. session on talking about a new tool which has been added in the VTrender chart section. And this is the MB, Microbalance. So we have all spoken about how we follow the market profile for structure and order flow for levels. And we see how the supply demand is shaping up at important market profile references, and accordingly brace ourselves for the move and the references. But what happens on the shorter time frame, intraday, the shorter time frame, at many times the auction remains in a narrow range balance. So that tests our patience. So market profile is all about knowing when you are in an imbalance and when you are in a balance. And this concept of balance and imbalance is prevailing on all time frames. So on the higher time frame, we have the market profile charts which help us, the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, which help us to gauge on the higher time frame how is the auction progressing, whether it's an imbalance or a balance, and accordingly we set ourselves up to trade on that day. But on the shorter time frame, when do we know when a balance is turning into an imbalance? So this tool which has been added today is recently in the VTrender section is what will tell us when on the shorter time frame you are having a balance and when the balance is moving into an imbalance, and not only that, how you will be able to trade that imbalance. So this is all today's session is about, and we will have a example of today's chart and see what we had today in terms of the microbalance. Also, one important reference, we have had a new build which is done up on the charts. So kindly refresh your charts. You can log in and log off and log in again, and then you will be able to see the range and the volumes of every micro balance which is shaping up on the charts. So as you can see, today we did not have any micro balance, but what we saw on Friday into the close, this was a micro balance. So what is this telling us? The imbalance which was there on Friday had turned into a balance into the close, and this micro balance range, you can see how the range was just 45 points. On the upside, you can say it is about the upside is about 24710 actually, and the downside is around 24665. So you can see the volumes in this micro balance is 30,000 contracts and the range is just 45 points. So how do we trade? How do we trade when we are aware? How does this help us in our trading? So what this was telling us that now this is the micro balance which Nifty futures is forming. So we move out of this micro balance is a signal that a balance is turning to an imbalance. So what we did today in the morning, we opened above this. So this was the close of the day. So this was not an intraday setup, but even during the day, you will get signals that this micro balance is coming to a close and we are starting a imbalance. So once you move away from this micro balance, so you have a trade moving in the direction of the auction. So this will be your entry. Once this confirms that this has moved out of this micro balance, the first bar, that will be your entry, and your stop loss would be the lower end of the balance. And then your targets would be based on this range which is formed. So this 45 points is the range. So for example, if we have the upper range is at 24710, you will add 45 points to it. So 24755 becomes your first target, and when you add 45 more to it, 25810 becomes your second target. So this is how you trade these micro balances. So this is purely for the shorter time frame. Once you realize that a shorter time frame is initiating a move, you want to get into it, and you never know which of this move can result in a bigger swing reference going forward. So that is how you need to know how this is forming, and till the time it is in a balance, you can be assured that there is no it could be more of a short gamma market, or it could be more of a accumulation or distribution phase which is running. So as we have mentioned in the post which is updated in the website, this is based on the Stedelmeier distribution and accumulation process, the IPM. So you have an imbalance, then it turns into a balance, and again you have another round of imbalance, and then it forms another balance. So whether the balance is forming an accumulation or distribution, we will come to know later. But what we are seeing now in this MB charts is how you can trade these micro balances. So till the time it's in a micro balance, this is the lower end of the micro balance, this is the higher end. So accordingly, you can look to fade this range. Once it moves away from this micro balance is where you get a imbalance trade, and that imbalance trade you can trade for the target one, which will be one time of this range. Target two would be the two times of this range, and accordingly you look to trade the next phase of imbalance turning to imbalance turning to an imbalance. Another interesting point about these micro balances are, we have spoken extensively about the 80% rule. So we look at 80% rule in nice balanced, well balanced value area zones. So these micro balances are also nothing but well balanced well balanced value area zones, but these are happening on the shortest time frame. So this, even in this, you can look to trade the 80%. So for example, we went higher today, we hit the two targets from this micro balance, and then we came back lower. So you can see how this micro balance high was first holding, it was giving a support, and then when you see this kind of an IS signal in the order flow breaking into this micro balance, you know that you can play for the 80% rule in this micro balance. So you can see how neatly that 80% rule was done, and below the micro balance we were not able to sustain, we did not get any IS signals below the micro balance. If that happens, you can trade on the downside, and immediately what you saw the auction coming back here, it stayed inside this, so you can see this 80% rule again playing out. So as long as the micro balance is valid, you can continue to play the range as per the micro balance. It is the same on of about how we play the 80% rule on the daily, weekly and monthly time frame. Last week in the session, we had given the example of the Bank Nifty spot chart, where on the monthly time frame of August value, we did the 80% rule on the upside and the downside. So it is the same concept which you can use on the micro balances also. But this is going to be on the shorter time frame, so the range will be smaller and you will have to be accordingly ready for that many range. For example, this micro balance was 45 points, so you should be ready for a 45-point move in the Nifty futures. And similarly, if you're trading options, it will be the same in options. So this is the Nifty futures micro balance of today. So let us now, so today we only have, I'll just switch it back to see if we can see some other micro balances. I am the chart which we are looking today is of the 3-minute time frame. So you can select this time frame based on what time frame you are trading. We have the 1 minute, 3 minutes and 5 minutes. So because micro balances are best seen for shorter time frames, we would suggest 3-minute would be the ideal, 3 or 5 based on your comfort. So 3-minute time frame is what we are looking at, and I'll just go back to the earlier chart and see where we were forming the micro balance and which of the micro balance is the best one and which is a okay kind of a signal. So you will find these yellow colored micro balances the most number of times. Yellow is the least strong of the micro balance signal, micro balances which are forming. Then you have the blue, which is one step better than the yellow. And then you have the purple. Purple, when you see a purple micro balance forming, that is the best one which you can get. So you can see this is the blue one. This is the second best quality micro balance. This yellow one is a simple micro balance, the basic micro balance, and the purple one is the one which you want to not miss out for any trade. So I'll just give you an example of this 11th of September. You can see this is been a big long range balance right from the open, from 9:15 till the K period. We were forming this micro balance. The range of this micro balance was 59 points and the volumes were around 18,000 contracts. So what did this micro balance do? It did not give us a move away right away. It got this green, but it did not stay out of this micro balance. Nonetheless, this was still telling us that it wants to move higher. So we can expect a move to the upside with this as our stop loss, the micro balance lows. So what do we do when you get this kind of a signal? You go to the order flow and look for IB signals. If you are getting IB signals like the one we have got here, then you know that yes, you are getting a push from away from this micro balance. So you can look for 60 points away from this micro balance high, which is around 25120 to the upside, which comes to 25180. So then accordingly you will set your second target. So this purple one is the best micro balance signal you will get. So you will want to make sure you don't miss when a microbalance from this purple colored bar is breaking out. It is giving a sign of an imbalance. So yellow ones are the basic microbalances. So they will be smaller ranges, smaller volumes, but nonetheless, they are also as effective as the others. So what I'll do is I'll just open up a option chart and we will see what was the microbalance signals which we got today. So this is the 24,800 put, and you can see how we have formed this microbalance after the open, and this made an attempt to move away from this microbalance on the downside with an IS signal, but this IS came in the C side. C side is something which we do not trust. So before I go to today's, let me just get back to Fridays to see what signals we got on Friday, because Friday was a good day for the P's, but it was not from the open. So you can see this blue colored microbalance from the open till around 11:30, and then you have this yellow range. So that is telling you this option is being in a microbalance. You can say they are accumulating or whatever the case is, but this has been in a microbalance. So this signal in order flow, the big IB3 which you are getting, which is giving you a sign that it is moving away from this yellow microbalance, and as well as this blue microbalance, is where you want to go long. What will your stop loss be? Your stop loss would be this low of the yellow microbalance. If you are a swing player, you can take this blue one as your reference and you can have your stop loss at the low of the blue microbalance, and then accordingly your targets on the upside would be there. So what did we do? We got this IB, it was followed by another IB3, and mind you, these IB3s are huge, big IB3s when it comes to options. They're pretty big. So you can see how this balance gave way to an imbalance, and the microbalance signal gave us a definite time where you could have entered. And what did we see into the close? We saw another balance being formed. And today at the open, you can see how right from that microbalance low, we got this red bar. So this was very clear at the open, this put was going to drop, and that is what it did. It went away from this microbalance. This range was 35 points. So it fell by 35 points and then another 35 points. So 70 points. If you are an option seller, you can use this signal to sell this particular put. And then this was a C side. The C side extension is something we do not trust. And this IS3 came in the C side. So what we did was we got back into this balance. And what did we do? I was talking about how you can play the 80% rule. So as soon as this got rejected back into this micro balance, you can see how we played the 80% rule in this. And we have started to take support right at the micro balance low. And we've got this IB signal, which confirms this is at VWAP. So this confirms that we are going back to the high of this micro balance. And we went on to tag that. So this is what we need to look out for. There is no other micro balance. After that, I'll again take a next week put option. So again, back to the Friday's chart. You can see how this was a cleaner signal, because in the one which we saw 24,800, it was more in the money put. So that gave us a blue, then a yellow. But this 25,000 put is given as a clean purple microbalance box. And so neatly, it has got this green bar breaking above this. So this is your entry point. I'll just zoom this a bit more. So the green bar which closes out of this microbalance high would be your entry point. So if this microbalance high is around 255, you get a 3-minute bar which is closing about 255, a good green bar. You know that you can look for a 56-point range. The stop loss would be this microbalance low, which is around 200. So 255 minus 200. So 55 points to the upside. So you're looking at 310 as your target, and that target gets hit. And when the target is getting hit, you're getting more IBs. So you can make use of this last IB3 as your trailing stop loss after part booking your profit. So this is how you need to look out for these micro balances and then accordingly trade them. And then you can see how this micro balance at the top was telling us now it is again got back into a balance. So this was broken on the downside. So this was telling us that the upside is done in this put. And then we again wait for a fresh micro balance to come up and then accordingly trade that. So this is how the put and the Nifty futures both can be traded. Coming to the gamma chart for tomorrow's settlement, let us have a quick look at this before we move on to the Bank Nifty line chart. So what are we doing for tomorrow's close? We don't have a clear picture because the gamma has two peaks here. Gamma exposure has two peaks here. And this long gamma at 24,700 came into the close because before close, it was short gamma. If I take you back to even 2:30 or even 3 o'clock, you can see how it was more short gamma. But slowly, the inventory has changed hands. And as of close, we have two peaks on the gamma exposure. The first peak is at 24,700 and this is long gamma. Second peak is at 24,800. This is also long gamma. So the pin effect is not yet in play. As we can see, even in the gamma density, we have the density at 24,750 and the convexity at 24,700. So this is telling us that the settlement is still not fixed, the level is still not fixed, and we will have to be watchful and have this chart open tomorrow to see how the inventory is changing and whether the long gamma continues or we get into a short gamma trade, and where is this peak. If this peak continues to go higher at one level, then that will be our focus. If you have these two dual peaks, we will see where the short gamma is coming in and where the long gamma is coming in, and accordingly look to be ready with the setups which come up. So that is as far as the gamma is concerned for tomorrow. Let us now move on to the Bank Nifty chart, and I'll show you how in Bank Nifty we got a very clean trade using the micro balance chart today in the morning. So this is that closing micro balance, and before that you can also see this blue micro balance. So this is a range of 91 points, and once we broke below this micro balance low, you know, with the stop loss of this, you can look for a trade of 91 points and 182 points on the downside, which easily came once you broke this and you kept the stop loss at this. And the same thing was this. We got these IS3 signals, but then we got into a balance. Once we broke below this balance, this never was taken out and we continued lower. So this was a very good signal on Friday where you could have taken a short trade in Bank Nifty, more so because Thursday and Wednesday was overlapping value in Bank Nifty. So when on the daily you know you have a balance and you're ready for an imbalance, these kind of micro balance signals give you even more better entry into the imbalance when it is happening. So this was a closing balance, micro balance on Friday. So how could we trade that today? I'll just come to that part. We have seen what we could have done on Friday. Let us see what what trade we got on today. Today in Bank Nifty, we did not open higher. We opened inside this micro balance, and you can see how the second bar moved out of this micro balance. So this micro balance was of 117 points, and from this high around 5, it was I think 54,520. This micro balance high. This green bar, the second green bar, 3-minute bar, is telling you that you can go long, and your stop loss would be this lows, which is around 54,400. So with this 115 point range, you're looking for a target of 115 and then 230. Both these targets were hit in Bank Nifty, and once they got hit, you book profit, you trail to cost. And that is the beauty of these micro balances. You can see how this micro balance, when it came back into this micro balance, you got the 80% rule on the downside. And then once it broke below the micro balance, we got that 115 point move to the downside. Not a 115 point, I think it was a 100-point move. But this IB3 told us that we need to come out of your uh, short trades if you are in. So again, an entry back into this is giving us a move higher. So a micro balance is valid for the first time. Once it moves out, you are getting a trade and you accordingly book profits and come out, trail to cost and come out accordingly. But if it is coming back before any micro balance, new micro balance is formed, you can still look to trade that zone for the 80% rule. So this is how you can trade this. You can use this micro balance in options also. You will get some wonderful opportunities, and because this is happening on the shorter time frame, it is all the more it all the more makes sense because your entry is earlier. So accordingly, your stop loss also, the risk also becomes lesser. So that is what it is. And when you combine these signals with already what we are doing, we look at order flow, we look at initiated signals to trade in the order flow. So if a break of this micro balance is confirmed by an IB3 on the upside and or IS3 on the downside, you are even more confident that you this that could be a very good setup. And yes, the micro balances which come in futures will be the best ones, and options, you can definitely trade the options ones also, but the futures micro balances would be the best. And if you are getting similar micro balances in both futures and options at the same time, that is even more better. So that is how you can trade these imbalances. In fact, you can see how this big micro balance gave a trigger, but they did not uh, hold. But what it gave was, once it did not hold, it formed this fresh micro balance, and based on this fresh micro balance, it tells you that even if you're long based on this bigger micro balance, you need to come out. So it is not only helping you to uh, reduce your stop loss, come out of a trade which is not moving in that direction, but it is given you a fresh trade on the downside. So that is why, but yes, the purple one is the best micro balance, the blue is the next, and the yellow is the lowest one. So this is how you have to make use of this. This will definitely be very effective, and it will help us to get in more good entries and exits when you're looking at trading options especially. So a quick look at the Bank Nifty Gamma chart, because we also have the Bank Nifty expiry tomorrow. So what is the Bank Nifty showing us? You can see Bank Nifty has a, but the considering the ratio in of Nifty and Bank Nifty is smaller, but here we still have a peak here at 54,500 with it being a short gamma, and both these are at that. So 54,500, you can see even in the convexity and density chart is been the peak. So 54,500 is where the Bank Nifty spot as of now is uh, fixed. So that will be the level which we will have to watch tomorrow. But as in Nifty, we will have to have this chart open and see if whatever changes are happening on this chart, and accordingly prepare ourselves to take trades in that direction. So that is it for today, guys, from my side. In case there are any queries, I'll be happy to answer them. And as I mentioned, you can use these micro balance in on any time frame. We would suggest 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So that will be the ideal thing. And once you get the order flow confirmation, and we have the other things which we track, that will be the best way to trade these micro balances.